Hello, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well and staying safe and healthy. Pastor Dave and I last spoke to you in January about how the council was monitoring the COVID situation in order to evaluate when we would return to in-sanctuary worship. Since then, the COVID numbers have improved significantly, and the distribution of COVID vaccines has also increased significantly. Today, we'd like to provide you with an update as to the metrics the council's been following, as well as our plans to return to in-person worship. First, just a reminder, like I've said before, the members of the executive team of your council continue to attend webinars that the Southeastern Synod has been conducting for council leaders. These webinars have been very helpful to understand what the overall Southeastern Synod COVID Task Force is recommending and learn what other congregations in the Synod are doing in response to COVID. For the past 6 months, your council has been continuing to monitor a set of criteria for LCR to help us use to determine when we may be able to safely return to worship in the sanctuary. We developed this set of criteria based on the learnings from the Southeastern Synod. And now I'll walk you through 3 slides, like I've done the past couple videos, to remind you what the criteria are and how we've been using them. So in the first slide, as you'll see, this is using a recommended website source that the epidemiologist on the Southeastern Synod COVID Task Force recommends we use, and it's COVID Act Now. So you can see the website there, www.covidactnow.org. They use 5 metrics to assess COVID across U.S., overall states, metro areas, and counties. I'd encourage you, if you haven't already looked at that website, to look at it. It's got a lot of great data. 3 of those metrics, one is daily new cases, so the incidence rate, the infection rate, and the positive test rate. They use those 3 to combine to come up with an overall risk level for geographical areas. And the other 2 that they've got on there now, ICU capacity and the percentage of population vaccinated, really reflect a location's ability to protect itself and recover from COVID. So the way it works, just a reminder, is if a daily, for example, if a daily's new cases is green, then its overall risk is green. For instance, if the new daily case metric is green, but the test positivity is yellow, the overall risk is still green. Otherwise, a region's overall risk level reflects the highest risk level across all 3 metrics. For instance, if the daily new cases and test positivity are both yellow, but infection growth is orange, then the overall risk is orange. So I think you get the idea. So the second slide is another website that the Southeastern Synod has recommended, and it is a Harvard website. It's globalepidemics.org. And that site tracks one metric, which is the COVID cases per day per 100,000. And what's good about that one is you can combine multiple geographic areas. So we could target a few different counties within our church's area, because we know not only do some of us live in different counties, but also we travel across them. So that's helpful. And then the third slide kind of brings it all together, how we've been evaluating the criteria for LCR. And I'll also say it's a combination of absolute numbers and trends. Throughout the pandemic, we've learned that COVID is by no means predictable, and looking at one number in isolation is not very helpful. You need to look at the trend to see if things are improving or deteriorating. And since last fall, I've continued to say that returning to in-person sanctuary worship, we're looking really for 2 things. One was that all 3 of these metrics were in the yellow per that covidactnow.org criteria. And then the second thing is that the 14-day COVID positive trend rate was going down. And as you can see in these charts, as of today, we have 2 of the 3 criteria that we're meeting, the infection rate and the positive test rate. However, the new case per day rate per 1,000 is still too high. We're looking for it to be below 10, and you can see where it is as of today. And I'll also say that as of right now, you can see in the chart, the 14-day trend of COVID positive test rates actually going up. It's up about 7%, even though, as we've seen over the since January, numbers have improved significantly. But really, the past couple of weeks, it's bumped back up a little bit, and it's staying a little flat. However, at the same time, vaccination rates have increased significantly over the past couple of months. And now all Georgians 16 years and older are eligible to receive the COVID vaccine. Based on all of this, told you a lot of information now, but based on all of this, if the COVID metrics continue to improve, We're targeting to return to in-sanctuary worship in the month of May. This was a big topic of discussion in our recent executive team meetings and council meetings, and we're excited to be able to tell you that. Now, all that being said, I'll say that there'll still be very important protocols that will continue to apply throughout our plan. We've been following CDC guidelines along the way. We will continue to do that. It's critical we all follow them, or else we risk that the plan is not working or ultimately would come to a halt. Contrary to what we'd all like to think, COVID's not done. It's going to be around for a while, so we need to be very careful. So one thing is social distancing will be maintained inside and outside of the sanctuary as we've been doing. Masks will be required of people 2 years of age and older. We'll continue to provide disposable masks if you don't have one. We'll provide hand sanitizing stations throughout the narthex and sanctuary. And we'll continue to do appropriate cleaning of the sanctuary prior to each worship experience. And lastly, we expect that all people who feel sick remain at home and worship using the virtual experience that we will continue to do. And with all that, I'll hand it over to Pastor Dave.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you and the Church Council for your leadership in this difficult and very important decision that we've had to make over these last 12 months. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We, all of us, me included, look forward to the time when we can come back into this sanctuary in a normal way. We're not quite there yet, but we are closer than we ever have been, and for that we give God thanks. We have lost 3 members of this congregation to death of COVID-19. None of us want to make it 4, which is why we have been very careful in terms of how we might be able to follow the CDC protocols, and we will continue to do that moving forward. As Dan suggested, we are hoping that we will be able to offer sanctuary worship in May. When we are able to do that, the schedule will be as follows. We anticipate doing 8:30 sanctuary worship. Initially, that sanctuary worship will look exactly the same as our parking lot service does today. Over the summer, we will gradually move that sanctuary 8:30 service to the more traditional service that we have expected. But when we come back in May, as anticipated, the service will look exactly like the parking lot service at 11 o'clock. So, 8:30 sanctuary worship, 9:45 resurrection hour. That changes resurrection hour from 9:30 to 9:45. And then an 11 o'clock parking lot worship experience. So once we come back to sanctuary worship, you will have 3 opportunities to worship with us. We want to offer you multiple styles and multiple opportunities to worship in this place. Those 3 options will be at 8:30 sanctuary worship, at 11 o'clock parking lot worship, and also you can worship online whenever you choose, at your leisure throughout the week. Those 3 alternatives, we think, will be a next step forward in terms of our ability to worship God in this place. Speaking of worshiping God in this place, all of us desire the time that we can come back in here and worship the way we have been worshiping in the past before COVID-19. Unfortunately, that will not be the case in May, and Dan suggested some of the protocols that will continue to be in place. Just a reminder that we have been following CDC guidelines. We will continue to do that in the future. The CDC guidelines suggest 6 feet, and because of that, there will be limited sanctuary space to about 50 people in this sanctuary when we come back to sanctuary worship. So, in order for us to be able to follow those guidelines, we would ask that if you're planning on coming to sanctuary worship, that you make a reservation, that you tell us ahead of time that you're going to come to 8:30 sanctuary worship, how many of you will be coming, so that we can utilize this space, given the CDC guidelines, to its utmost potential. We would also ask, as Dan suggested, that as you worship in this sanctuary in May, that you wear masks, that when you come in, they would be on and that they would remain on throughout the service. We are hopeful that we can offer singing at that service and that we would sing through our masks. We believe that that may be a possibility for all of us. And as you heard Dan's pledge, our promise to you as you come to sanctuary worship is that this sanctuary will have been cleansed and cleaned as our gift to you. We are thanking you for your gift to us, that you would keep yourselves healthy, that you would clean before you come into the sanctuary, and that if you're not feeling well, that you would remain home and be able to worship with us online. So, we are closer than we ever have been in this last year. Who would have thought it would have taken us this long? We are careful for people's lives, but we are also celebrating a time and looking forward to the time when we can celebrate and worship God in multiple ways. And we believe come May, 8:30 sanctuary worship, 11 o'clock parking lot worship, and an online worship experience whenever you so choose, gives us more and more options to do what this congregation does best: worship God and give God thanks for God's presence in our midst. Again, thank you for your patience, thank you for your partnership, and thank you for your prayers as we continue to try and be a part of God's kingdom in a very difficult world. God's blessings to all of you.